Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian from Whisper Status 74. You were looking at Devil May Cry 5 on the Xbox One X. This is actually the demo. Going through my games on the Xbox One, I realized the demo was still installed. And the demo was pretty close to completion in terms of what the final game would look like, as well as the HDR implementation. So instead of going out and buying a whole nother copy, those of you that have an Xbox One X, I believe the demo is still available. Download that and do your own side by side and see what the game looks like. The game looks phenomenal on the Xbox One X, but we're going to do a side, or not side to side, but back to back look of both. And you'll see that the HDR is actually consistent in terms of how it looks on both versions. This is the Xbox version, and this is the PC version. So when I click back, he's probably going to be bordering on his knees, but you'll see it. We'll go back to it. This is the PC version, Xbox One X version, PC version. The Xbox One X version is very impressive in terms of its effects, its aliasing, how clean the game actually is. I can't speak for the PS Pro version, though I can probably download that demo as well. But that wasn't the point of this video. The video was to see if the HDR was consistent. I still wasn't able to get an answer. Alex from Digital Foundry recontacted me and said he wasn't sure if it was a true HDR profile. He didn't even cover it. And then the other guy was the guy from Vincent's channel, Evil Baron, is doing a console HDR. That video should be up on hdvtest.com or the channel. Check that out for Vincent's channel and you'll see that for consoles. But from what I can see here, the game looks identical in terms of its HDR and how the game actually appears. Xbox One X, PC. So again, it's not really the difference in terms of its clarity. The PC does win easily in terms of clarity and how clean the image is. As far as looking at the puddles and everything else, the game is pretty much crystal clear. But the Xbox One version is really no slouch. I mean, very, very clean considering what it's competing with in terms of a graphics card versus a console. I mean, you would be hard-pressed to put them side by side. But what we really wanted to talk about today was the color. Now, the PC is set to max. It has the sRGB. HDR is all set. It's all set in the control panel. It is all set in-game. Same with the Xbox. So this is the Xbox version. Whoops, I'm sorry. The Xbox version for its brightness. There is no PC there, so it's basically that. Now in terms of spectral highlights, how the game looks, I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Again, PC version. I'm sorry, this is the Xbox version. PC version. Now both inputs are set to the exact same game mode. HDR, the brightness is even set the same on both. But the fact that people couldn't confirm in even the media if it had an HDR profile, we were really just concerned about when I read it and it was malfunctioning. It seems to have settled down. It seems to be behaving. But I wanted to clarify it for myself and what the title actually looks like, just to make sure that we can leave it enabled. And this is what was intended. If the console version is behaving as it should, which we'll see from Evil Baron on Vincent's channel, then we'll know on PC that it's the same. Xbox One. Now again, your ability to see HDR is obviously limited on YouTube, but as I've shown you in HDR videos in the past, they will look very different in terms of saturation, and these games look identical. other than the cleaner PC version, which I think gives it a more vibrant image. Xbox One, PC. Same TV, different inputs, but exact same settings. We'll leave that bus right there in the background. Xbox One. Now, those of you who have the PS4 version or the Pro version, let me know how you like the image and what you think, and if it looks similar to what you see here in terms of the HDR. Again, not an oversaturated mess. It does look good, but we just had to be sure because so many of us were struggling with it. And to have, Steam users and Reddit and even some YouTube analysis say that there wasn't an HDR profile, really put me into doubt. Now, if you want to do this at home, download the demo on either the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X. And you're going to have a hard time angling it because the camera does jump around. And if it does get distant, just pan around him once. And as you do that, the camera will tighten up against as he sits down, as I freaking say that. But when it'll pull away in action, and then as you go around, it'll be more clear. But to me, they look very, 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 very similar in terms of color. We know that HDR on, HDR off does not look similar. Xbox One. So we've seen HDR on or HDR off where the vibrancy kicks in or the saturation. You're seeing a very even look between both, that if there was a substantial difference, it would really jump out at you between both HDRs. Xbox One, again, go around him and the camera will pull up to him if you want to see how it looks over his shoulder. But you get a good idea of the luminance and how it looks as he freaking sits down again. We'll make sure he stays up. PC. Now, what's interesting about the fountain, you can actually see, if you look at the fountain, the clearer lines on it on PC. Still looks great. It's a little more of a muddy look to it. This is Xbox. We'll do one last view in the middle of this area here. Stand directly on this little star. Kind of panning around. PC. Xbox. Now keep in mind the Xbox One X, it was a demo, but it was pretty much done from what I understand. But I thought it would be good just to check out the HDR. And what's the takeaway from this? For me, myself, PC, people that are very, very into the settings, not knowing what is the correct way to play it, there's no correct way, but in terms of HDR, I have now faith that I can play in HDR and not feel like I'm looking at the wrong image. The problem with HDR is not to wonder how it looks as much as if it's not correctly, you're actually hurting the image. And I'm confident now that this is an HDR profile and that it looks good. Or that at least it looks as it was intended. So I will play with HDR on. What you do is up to you guys, but thank you as always. This is the comparison between PC and the Xbox One X demo of Devil May Cry HDR. Looks like it's good. And I'll be playing with it on. Thank you as always, guys.